This video is about to age like milk. This video will be as short as my A video because this was meant to be a follow-up video to the last 3 ones where I covered this topic. Basically, these videos can be summarized to one key theory. Dottore is working with both academia and the Eremites by promising them that the Fatui can revive their dead god and provide them with immeasurable knowledge. I propose that Dottore has plans on reviving the Scarlet King. And with the drop of the 3.1 trailer, we can finally further add on to this theory, with the reveal of the man, the myth, the midget Scaramouche, and the model of Dottore in-game. Before I begin with this theory, I just want to say that this is my favorite part of theory writing, just adding more and more information to this already really wobbly tower of accusations, and seeing if it builds up or it all comes crumbling down. But regardless, the journey of building theories is my favorite part of all of this, and to think that this idea came to me while I was having an existential crisis at 3 AM really means a lot to me. But I'm getting carried away. Let's get to the lore part. My theory is that Scaramouche is being injected by Archon residue that comes from the Scarlet King's energy to serve as a secondary vessel, and that this isn't Scaramouche talking about the eras, but instead the Scarlet King that's injected into him. So let's break this down. Scaramouche is being injected by Archon residue that comes from the Scarlet King's energy to serve as a vessel for resurrection. If there was someone that would be a perfect fit for a resurrection vessel, it would be an empty husk like Scaramouche, a vessel that was meant to house the deity's power, but instead was just calibrated wrong. But we know that this changed a lot when he got to the Fatui. His electro power was unlocked and he was given even more power through the delusion. This was confirmed by Yamato. So injecting power into him isn't new, which most likely is a kind of Archon residue. Archon residue is a substance that was introduced in the very beginning of the manga as being the material that can bestow a creature unimaginable power but tremendous pain. We see this in the manga and the game as being a kind of purple liquid. This is energy of dead gods of the past, much like Orobashi's crystal meros that was used to create delusions. This is a substance within a delusion, so it's not impossible to say that there is Archon residue of the Scarlet King, who is also considered a god of sumeru. Now, the reason I believe this is the material is because of the trailer. Dissecting the 3.1 trailer, we noticed several things. First is that Scaramouche doesn't have a hat and we have been horribly wronged. But the second is that there are red energies around him before there's a spark of purple lightning. The first flash is also red, which might mean something, but that's just going a little too hard into the semantics, so let's just assume that that's a stylistic choice. Anyway, Scaramouche also has several tubes connected to him and a mysterious golden contraption attached to his shoulder, something that we've actually never seen before. I own a Scaramouche cosplay and I can guarantee that this piece of design isn't in his original article of clothing. The third is that we see the substance that's being pumped into him. It's a bright purple material, much like the material injected into Collet. But what I want to emphasize is what he says. This kind of speaking, this fall reassuring, is akin to the things that Collet's Archon residue tells her. Instead of belittling her immediately, it forces her to be dependent on them, coercing her into giving in, using words like, "don't worry," or "you'll feel so much better." It never uses words like, "we'll kill you," or "we'll consume you," but it talks to you like a friend, your ally. It was only until she disobeys that they call her a worthless vessel, a useless fool that should just disappear. This manner of dialogue, by the way, really reminds me of Scaramouche, which makes it even more uncanny. So the question is this him talking, or is this the Archon residue, or is this him finally becoming one with the Archon's power? My theory is that this is both himself and not himself. This whole machine and creature screams Scaramouche, with the iconic Japanese aesthetic that's associated with him in Inazuma. Can I just say how much I love this thing design? Color palette is clearly his, but also the silhouette. The figure is symmetrical and geometrical, which is something that Scaramouche's design is known for. The armor in the center is a representation of his veil and his sleeve. And then you have the purple and white threads, you also see the electro symbols on the center and the forehead, and you even see a symbol on his forehead that looks like a feather. Maybe a callback to the plume in the husk of Opulent Dreams, which was supposed to be a token that A left behind for him. But regardless, this power or whatever this thing is clearly Scaramouche's. But then you hear the words, "your era is coming to an end." The reason this is important is because, who is this for? The only person that Scaramouche could logically direct this to is A, which I would say might be the case, but this is a Sumeru Archon quest. It would be bizarre for him to suddenly reference A when in Inazuma, he and Senora weren't particularly interested in overthrowing A as an Archon. It wouldn't make sense either for this to be said to dottore or to Zazaritza, or even the Traveler. The Traveler never had an era. No, I think this is the Scarlet King talking through Scaramouche, directed at the god that parted from him. But why would he want to overthrow the rainforests? We don't know. But it's possible that Rukkhadevata committed the transgression against him that eventually caused his downfall and misery, most likely before the fall of the Desert Kingdom and shortly after the Goddess of Flowers' death. Whatever fight that Rukkhadevata and the Scarlet King had would be the reason for the separation of the biomes, and eventual hostility between not only the two gods, but also the descendants. But why would he want to overthrow the entirety of Sumeru? Well, I believe this is because of his belief before his ruin. He wanted to create a world where no one would suffer, and that everything shall be good. He was governed by deep sorrow that it drove him to this perverted idea of creating a utopia in honor of the Goddess of Flowers. If there was anyone in the lore that would have motive of overtaking a ruler, it would be him. This could also be why we see two peculiar scenes: the core of 30 stabbing Catherine and the Sumeru people's blind adoration. The core of 30 stabbing Catherine might be a way for them to sever Kusanali's connections with the quote-unquote real world, which is probably even stranger because Kusanali said that she can connect to anything and anyone that uses an Akasha terminal. Also note that neither Scaramouche, nor dottore, nor the core of 30 have Akasha terminals. Neither do the people that are attacking Catherine, but the Sumeru citizens who were expressing their sheer adoration do. So whatever is happening here is a direct order by the sages, and not some mental mind control through the Akasha. It's also even possible that the adoration scene wasn't directed to the Traveler, but instead to someone else. This can be Kusanali given that we're in Sumeru City, perhaps a perversion of this wish she has to be respected as a god for once. But we're not quite sure. I'm reluctant to say that this is towards Scaramouche because these are the people of the rainforests, not the Eremites, which wouldn't make sense if my theory of Scaramouche being the reincarnation of the Scarlet King is correct. That's just not the right god. But yes, that's it. I also wanted to add that maybe this is why Sino will be of really great importance. Perhaps it is through the lesser banishing ritual that he is going to steal back the Scarlet King, or whatever kind of exorcism that Sumeru citizens can do. But this was just a small follow-up on the previous videos now that we have more context. Are you excited for 3.1? I still need to actually play Sumeru, so I'll see you when I see you. Anyway, my name is Aster and thank you for chilling with me. I have homework to do.